Hello. How are you? How are you doing, Lynn and Susan and Nancy? Hi. How are you? Kind of a weird concept, right? That we're all together, yet not together, not together physically, but together. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. And who knows what the future looks like? I was just Zoom just updated and added a whole bunch of apps to their platform. And when I downloaded them yesterday and I looked at all the different apps, it just made me think about the what's happening with all these companies that think that we're going to be doing this forever and how they're all in the background creating ways to make it easier and all of that. So I think that what I really want to do is I want people to get props because when I was teaching in the pre-pandemic era in person live classes, I used to bring my props. And it's been very interesting for me to modify the practice at home without some of my favorite props. And just yesterday, I was looking at my bands that I have. I had bands I would bring in to do some extra side body work or even some rotator cuff work in my chair classes, and my favorite egg blocks that I use for almost all my classes to stretch the neck, to help open up the chest for posture and spinal alignment, and then also for balance. And so I was just thinking about that because I always brought props to my practice. So I think I'm going to actually start putting together bundles of the props I would like people to have and have specific classes that have the props because there are so many things I could do with tennis balls, with egg blocks, with bands. But anyway, there's also so much we could do without it because this practice and the physical asana posture part of the practice, there were no mats, there were no props. And so it's about moving your body, stretching your tissue, doing the best you can do, working towards keeping the range of motion in your joints, the range of motion in your muscles and your tissues. And yeah, so when we talk about wellness, that's all the things we're going to focus on. Stevie, good morning. Well, if you ladies would like to share anything in particular that you wanted to spend some time on and focus on, I could take a little time out to focus on those areas in particular. And my focus today was going to be on strengthening the back of the body, the side of the body, and the core. And that would really be very helpful then for joint alignment, for posture, and for balance, which is then good for osteoporosis or bone health. It's good for fall prevention and injury prevention. So that's what my intention is for today's physical practice. And yeah, so let's begin. I'm going to come back here to my space. So for today's practice, please have a block or something like a block. Have a strap or something like a strap. A belt will do as well. And a blanket. We'll use a blanket. And then maybe 2 blankets. I'd like to begin today's practice actually with an elevation of the pelvis. And so either you could do this on a block, elevate your pelvis, which is called an inverted bridge posture. And actually, if you have headaches or glaucoma or any mucus in the upper part of your body, you wouldn't want to elevate, or you would want to be very minimal in your elevation, which is why I suggested 2 blankets. And I'd like to show you what I mean by that for those that can actually get another towel or blanket, or even a soft cushion or pillow that would only give a slight elevation of the pelvis. So let me get another blanket to show you that. Voila, another blanket. So the other blanket is going to be folded in 2, and this could be placed underneath your pelvis or it could be a block. So when we get to that part of the practice, you'll decide which is appropriate for you. And the props are to assist certain things in the body. In this case, it'll be to calm the nervous system, have an effect on the fluids. So when we elevate the pelvis, we're going to bring the fluids to the heart. So it's really good for heart health and taking away some of the pressure and the workload off of your body or out of your body that has to bring back all the fluids up to the heart. So heart health, this will be a little heart health movement. And before we get to that place, let's arrive. Let's intentionally make the shift from human doing to human being. And depending on what your level of activity has been before this moment, what you've brought into your body that affects your nervous system, like stimulants, what you're bringing into your body to stimulate your body with thoughts, either consciously or subconsciously. So all of that is what the input that's coming in is the thoughts, the foods we eat, the things we drink. So I'd like you to come to where you are right now, human doings, getting ready to practice yoga, connecting mind, body, and soul. So we're going to shift first from the human doing to the human being, because that's where the healing takes place. So bring yourself into a seated position, whatever that looks like for you. Knees bent if they still bend for you. And if they don't, be okay with that in acceptance. If it's close to still being able to bend nicely, then work towards bending them more. And if bending them brings you too much pain, fear, or tension, then that's not something you're going to be doing. So you're going to do whatever is appropriate for you. Then bring your hands together. You could rub them up and down each other a little bit to feel the connection. And then the hands come to where the heart is. Press the chest towards the hands. And that'll help to activate some of those muscles that keep you nice and tall and straight in your posture and hold you upright. Lengthen the back of your neck so it's nice and long, slightly, maybe a half of an inch of movement. Slightly move the chin down towards the chest. Moving from the outside to the inside, from human doings to human being. Begin to notice your breath. Notice it coming into your body. Notice it leave. Bring your awareness to your lungs. Notice if both sides are moving. See if you're able to detect that. Do you feel the right side of your body, the right lobe, the right lobes, the right lung with the lobes? And then the left as well. Is the left lung? Do you feel breath and movement all the way up and down your left side? Let your left hand stay on your heart. Left palm touches your chest. Take your right hand onto your thigh, palm down. Take a few breaths. Notice the lungs. Are both sides breathing? And then take your right palm up towards the sky. Back of the hand rests on the thigh. Elbow is underneath the right shoulder. Bring your awareness to your breath. Do you feel both sides, or do you feel mostly the left side? Bring your hand back up, your right hand back up. Let your right hand stay in the middle of your chest near your heart level. Bring the left hand onto the top of the left thigh, elbow underneath the shoulder. Take a couple of breaths in observation. Is the breath coming into both sides of your lungs? And then turn the left palm up towards the sky. And notice where the flow of breath goes. Bring the left hand back up on your heart. Both hands are on your chest. Arms are alongside your body. You could feel them on your chest. Feel your chest cavity expand and contract with breath. And bring your hands together at the chest like we began. Press your heart towards your hands. Bring the breath a little deeper to the belly, down towards the pelvis. Bring your awareness to your eyelids, where your eyes are, top lid is touching bottom lid. And gently allow the eyes to blink themselves open. Noticing if there has been a calm sensation that's come over you, if you are able to have an effect on your nervous system, and other systems of the body will be affected. And then I'd like to say about the palm that we were doing, having one palm up to see if you could feel that side, the palm is up, not as much movement in the lungs, more breath coming into the other side. And there's actually a reflexogenic neurological reason behind palm up, Shunya Mudra it's called. Palm up actually stops the flow or minimizes the flow of breath into that side of your lung. So it could be a very powerful mudra and breath to practice to help balance the lungs or to help create space or balance maybe some issues you have in your body. So for people with scoliosis, sometimes there's less movement of breath into one side of the body. So that could be a really great thing. It's very therapeutic to do that. Okay, we're going to come down onto our back with an elevation of the pelvis, do a little bit more relaxation, a little more human being work as opposed to human doing work. So have your blanket at the top of your mat for your head and neck. And then you're going to have beside you either a blanket to elevate your pelvis or a block. And then sometimes it's nice to have both in case one, you think you're going to do one, but your body's like, that's not necessarily so comfortable. So if you already know what you're going to do, go ahead and do it. If you'd like to try the block, you walk your feet a little closer, lift your pelvis up, and then do a little placement of your pelvis. Let the top edge of your pelvis go touch the block first, and then allow your sacrum to make connection. You could get a really nice stretch here in between the ribs and the pelvis. You can even move your back up a little bit, reach your chest up, lift your, slide your shoulder blades closer to the center so you're in a nice position. Hands can be on the pelvis or down alongside the body. So this is one way to be, or if that felt not good, or if you have glaucoma or a headache and you don't want to do too much elevation, having this slight elevation of the pelvis with a blanket is another option, or a pillow.
So find what is appropriate for your body, what you want today, what you need today. And this is supportive of your heart. And it's also could be supportive of stretching the pelvis or helping to find balance in your pelvis for those that have some pelvic asymmetry, whatever the reasons are. There could be many reasons. Bring yourself here, closing your eyes. And here the goal now is to breathe down to the belly. The diaphragm muscle, the primary breathing muscle, when you breathe deeply, you're going to expand the belly. And that's actually good because this is the top of your core, the diaphragm. So let's strengthen the diaphragm with that elevation of the pelvis, the abdominal organs pressing up against the diaphragm. When you breathe in and you let your belly rise, you're pushing into all your digestive organs and intestines with your diaphragm. So there's a strengthening that can happen to the diaphragm here. So breathe down to your belly. Nice, deep, slow breaths. Try to be in your body to feel what you feel. Make sure your chest is not caving. So press your shoulder blades into your rib cage to lift your heart up towards the sky. So there's some activity here. You're not just casually hanging out, letting everything relax. A little bit of an elevation of the heart. And then if you'd like a little bit more of the inversion, you could actually bring the knees up above your pelvis, or you could lift the legs up towards the ceiling. Try to have the legs right above your pelvis, not far away from your pelvis. You don't want to put a strain on the lower back. So if you do have the legs in the air, let the legs be right above the block or the blanket. So finishing the breath you're on, take 5 more breaths with the awareness at the low ribs, breathing deep to push the diaphragm up against the contents of your abdomen. When you finish the 5th breath, keeping your eyes closed, bring your legs back, feet back to the ground slowly if you had your legs elevated. There's a lot of movement of fluid there, using gravity in the opposite way. So bringing the fluids to the heart. This actually has been proven, this inversion here has been proven to lower blood pressure and heart rate because there's an increase in the volume to the heart and to the neck, which is then supplied to the brain. So doing an inversion can have a real great effect on heart health and nervous system respiration, lots of good things. Counterindications for doing this would be uncontrolled or unmanaged high blood pressure. So even if you do have high blood pressure and you're managing it with medications, inversions, of course, you have to check with your doctor. But inversions can be safe for many. Let's push our feet into the floor slowly. Feel the pressure coming off of your pelvis, and then take the block out to the side. Bring your body back down onto the ground. Keep your props to the side so the blanket is underneath your head. Let's start bringing in some movement to the body. Hands are down alongside your body. Lift your rib cage away from the floor so you could slide your shoulder blades closer to the spine, closer to the center. And then keep the soles of the feet on the ground. Let's do a little bit of side to side. Keep the soles of the feet on the ground. So you're not doing a lot of movement yet. You're gently bringing in some movement into the body, making sure everything feels okay. And if you close your eyes, you'll be able to feel and know what is appropriate and not appropriate for your body. Now let's start to let the soles come off the floor as the knees go a little farther towards the floor. Getting and touching the floor is not what we're going for. It's just about this movement side to side, letting your pelvis shift side to side and even rock off the ground a little, which is going to bring rotation into your spine. It's your lower lumbar spine that rotates. Hip bones are also moving here. So make sure your low back feels okay. Close your eyes, especially those of you with low back issues. Then take the arms out to the side like the shape of the letter T. Palms are up towards the sky as you do your side to side movement. Closing your eyes to feel what feels okay and also to feel what feels yummy. Feel the side waist stretching, the hips are stretching. Bring your awareness to your glutes as you go from side to side. You go to one tushy cheek, the other tushy cheek comes off a little bit, even though it's close to the ground. So I don't want you really rocking and rolling your pelvis yet. This is the beginning of the practice. You are in your low back. Those of you that have low back issues, you got to be careful and really develop awareness on what is safe movement patterns for you with your issues in your tissues. So become a real good observer of how you should or could move safely. Bring yourself back to center. Let's take the feet all the way wide. So all the way off the mat, if that's appropriate for you, or as wide as you can comfortably. And then allow the knees to go side to side. Now you're going to be much more hip joint focused, not so much low back and core. Now the hip joint is doing a lot of movement with the legs spread, and you're stretching your internal and external rotator muscles of the hip. So keeping that fluidity and that mobility, that range of motion in the hip joint. This could be good for bone health, could be good for injury and fall prevention, so that if you do slip, trip, or stumble, you're less likely to cause an injury in the hip joint. Next time your legs go to the left, let them stay there. Let the legs stay to the left. Feel the stretch on the right side body. Press your heart up towards the sky. So there's a little bit of extension here, spinal extension, taking the pressure away from the low back. So bring it all the way up into the spine, adding movement to your upper spine. Push your heart up towards the sky. Breathe deep to your belly. Try to feel as much tissue stretch as possible. And then bring yourself back to center. Coming up through center and letting your legs go over to the right. Allow them to arrive. Bring your awareness to your upper chest. Press your heart up towards the sky, adding that spinal extension to the thoracic spine. helping to disseminate the pressures that are experienced in the spine. And many roads, they say all roads lead to Rome, or all rivers lead to the ocean. Well, in the body, that concept is that most of our body leads to the low back. So adding that, pressing up the heart towards the sky is going to bring the movement and the pressure up into the upper spine and not let it all be in the low back and the lower spine. Take one more breath. And bring yourself back up to center. Go ahead, walk your legs back to the center. Let's bring the left leg in. Hold on to the top of the left leg. Let the right leg go straight. So this next movement I'm going to do is not for those with osteoporosis. So if you have osteoporosis, you want to make sure that right around that lower rib area, right where the belly button is, there's T8, 9, 10, 11, 12, L1 and 2. There's 7 vertebrae here that the majority of fractures occur if you have bone density issues. And so shortening that part of your body, forward bending, forward folding, is a no-no, putting pressure on the front of the spine. So if you did have osteoporosis, if you wanted to lift the upper body up, if you kept the head up towards the sky, then you're going to not flex the thoracic spine and the cervical spine. But if you don't have osteoporosis, let's lengthen our spine and think of it as lengthening too, not so much pressure right here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, lift your head off the floor, bring your knee towards your forehead towards your knee. Your right leg is straight, your left leg is bent. Inhale to lower. If your knee doesn't like this, you could actually hold on underneath your hamstring if that's easier or better for your body. Inhale and exhale to rise. Go slow, feel the stretch. You're lengthening your spine and flexing your spine, and you're going to feel the hip flexor muscles stretch when you do this. One more, exhale to rise. You'll also feel upper back and neck muscles hard at work, trying to lift your heavy head off the floor towards the knee. Inhale to lower. Let's switch. Bring your right leg in, go slow. Take your left leg straight. Move slow through all your movements too, especially those of you with issues in your tissues. We throw our bag of bones around. We do it without awareness. And many of us have issues in certain parts of our body. And so if you want to really heal yourself, you need to uncover where are your issues. So the slower you move, the more you're going to be able to be body aware. When you're body aware, that's when you can start healing yourself. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, draw the forehead towards the knee or the nose point straight up towards the sky if you have osteoporosis. Inhale to lower. Osteopenia, I would still have my nose go up towards the sky. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. One more, exhale to rise. And then bring yourself down. Let's take your legs straight, take your arms overhead, full body stretch. Flex your wrists so the heels of the hands are reaching up towards the back of the wall behind you, and the feet flex so the heels of the feet are reaching away from you. And stretch your body glove here. Feel the stretch. You could push your heart up towards the sky if you'd like. Deep breaths to your belly. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Push your feet into the floor. Lift your pelvis off the floor. Let's stretch the legs here. Bring the left leg in. Hold on behind your hamstring. Inhale to unbend. Exhale to bend. Stretching the back of your leg here. Getting the knee joint to move. Creating fluids in the knee. So even if these movements seem simple, they're actually so therapeutic for keeping the package that you live in mobile, limber, strong, and healthy. You don't have to do crazy stuff to be all of those things. These gentle movements and functional movements are what we need to be healthy forever. Bring your leg up to as straight as you can and strongly point your foot and flex. Point and flex. point, flex, point, flex, one more, point, and flex. Let's take your foot around in a nice circular slow pattern. Notice if you're going fast. I will tell you, many people seem to be rushing through things. And I want this to be slow. I want this to be a human being stretching their body as opposed to a human doing rushing through these movements. Let's go the other direction, nice and slow. Uncover what you need to uncover in the ankle joint. It's a large part of your balance. So if balance are issues for you, if you have an issue with balance, you want to really focus on this every day, pointing and flexing the foot and rotating the ankle joint so that you keep yourself nice and receptive and flowing. And then let's slowly bend that knee. Bring your leg down. Let's bring the other leg in, clasping behind the hamstring. You're going to inhale and exhale. And I find that for most bodies, regardless of what your issues are you have in your tissues, even if you're someone with knee issues, for most people, these are doable movements and functional and contributing. And they contribute to a happy, healthy, functional body, which is very important for us to be happy overall. Because if your body is broken, it ends up affecting your mind. Come to a straight leg if you can. So as close to a straight knee as you can. Be okay with whatever you have. If your knee is not as straight as you want it to be, then work on it every day. Stretching your hamstring so you could come to a more straight leg. Point your foot strongly and flex. Point and flex. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Then let's come into the circles, slow, exploring, noticing, feeling. Let's go in the other direction. And then go ahead and bring your legs down, bring both knees into the chest. So you feel the low back pressing towards the floor. So keeping your legs nice and limber is very important because that's how it's part of maintaining the electrolyte balance in the body, the exchange of minerals back and forth from the muscles back into the system, that exchange of lactic acid that gets produced during muscular activity and the minerals necessary to help build the bones, keep the bones strong, keep the muscles strong. When the muscles are strong, they help to strengthen the bones. So that interaction and that back and forth of what needs to come in and what needs to go out, we need our tissues to be receptive. So it's important to stretch. So let's do a little bit of a deeper stretch now that we've warmed up using the strap. Bring your left foot in, take the strap, put the strap on your sole of your foot. And then the knee could be bent, especially if you have a tight body or you're not quite warmed up. You could keep this knee bent because it'll give you a little bit more ability to work with a straighter joint. If you could work with a straight knee here, you'll actually pull on where the muscle begins, which in this case is the pelvis. So a little bit of bone building stimulation for your pelvis, nice strong pelvis, keeping the knee straight. So for those that are tighter, keep your right knee bent. For those that have a good range of motion or better range of motion in their body, you could come to a straight leg. So it's really dependent on where you are in your body in general and then where you are today. And that has to do with your nutrients currently and your level of hydration. So all these factors play a role. And then let's stretch our ankle a little more. So go ahead and pull the right strap so that your sole of your foot turns over towards the right. You feel a pretty nice, strong I'm going to say beautiful and yummy because I feel like it is. Stretch on the ankle joint area or the side of the leg. And then pull on the left strap. And the stretch here is not quite as deep. This is not, the leg doesn't move as much that way. The ankle joint doesn't move as much. What I want you to look at here is that your leg is totally still. Your kneecap is pointing towards the wall behind you the whole time, yet your ankle is bending side to side. So try to isolate this in the ankle joint. That's hard for a lot of people at first to do. The cue that I give that can be helpful is if you look at the sole of your foot and on the pinky toe edge, you were to put a bunch of ink on your pinky toe edge and you look up towards the ceiling and you try to push the pinky toe edge up towards the ceiling to put the ink on the ceiling. That could start to give you that little bit of that lateral bend that you need in your ankle joint that we're trying to go for. And then come back to neutral. Keep your leg straight if you can and guide your leg back towards the wall behind you as strongly as you can. If your right leg is straight, press the right leg into the ground. That may give you a little bit more to stretch back. Feel that stretch behind your leg. Remember, this is good for electrolyte balance, mineral balance, which is good for bone health, good for muscular health, and health all over. And if your knee is straight, this is more bone health, pulling on the pelvis. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. We're going to come into a inner thigh stretch here. So bring your strap into your left hand, slide your hand down the strap. Now I want you to keep your leg above your body. So here's your adductors on your left leg and your adductors on your right leg here. So we want these to move as far away from each other as possible. So this is not about going to the side. It is about lengthening out to the side, but at some point for some of you, because you're so tight, you might bring yourself forward. So it's not about going to the ground is what I meant to say, because people try to get to the ground and because they don't have that range of motion in their adductor, the leg goes forward and then they can go to the ground easier because their leg is forward. But then your adductor came closer to this adductor. You want this inner thigh to be as far away from this inner thigh. So go out to the side, and if your foot feels like it's going to go forward at all, stop, because that's your range of motion. Come out to the side as much as you can comfortably with a straight leg, pushing into the arch part of the strap, stretching that inner thigh, pulling on the pelvis, more bone building stimulation. Why not? That just happens to be one of the benefits, whether it's intentional or not. That is something that's happening when we do these movements. And then breathe. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back up to center. Bring your strap off for a second. Let's push your feet into the floor, lift your pelvis up, let your pelvis go back down. So to keep yourself from cramping, to keep your muscles healthy, your bones healthy, to allow all the nutrients that are in the body to stay balanced, to be balanced, having stretched tissues is an important part of that. And so that's an intention behind what we're doing here. And we're pulling on bones to create bone building stimulation. And we want that stimulation we're creating to be able to travel where it needs to get the protein that's in the blood to come into the bone cells to create and lay down more bone tissue and the other building blocks that are necessary as well. So think of this as you clearing the pathway of healing. Bring your right knee in. Let's take the strap, put the strap on the sole of the foot. Slide your hands down the strap, wrap your hands around. You can keep the left leg straight or bent depending on what your needs are. So if you happen to be a little on the tighter side or maybe tighter today, keep that knee bent. Otherwise, straighten the leg if you have that, and then keep that right leg straight. So try not to have a bend in the knee. Try to keep that right leg straight. And if that's hard to do with a straight left leg, then bend the left leg. We're going to begin with that ankle joint movement. So keep the right leg still. Right kneecap is always pointing towards the back wall, and you start to pull side to side. Feel the stretch. Again, the cue that I give here that's helpful for some, or for quite a few actually, look at your pinky toe edge and imagine you just painted a strip of ink on the pinky toe edge. And then press the pinky toe edge up towards the ceiling as if you were going to try to make a straight line, like a stamp, putting the pinky toe edge up towards the ceiling. And that can help you get that lateral bend we're looking for to stretch the side muscles. And these are part of what helps with balance. And then there's a lot of communication that comes up and down the ankle to the brain for balance. And then bring your awareness to the center, to the straight leg position. Let's draw the leg back towards the wall behind you. Feel that stretch at the back of your leg. Try to go to as much intensity as you can handle comfortably. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and release. We're going to come to that inner thigh stretch, pulling on the pelvis. Take your hands on the strap, slide your hands down. So I don't know why this happens, but our ego comes with us to the mat. And for some reason, we all want to do the maximum. We all want to let the leg go to the floor. And I see it with everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, what your issues and your tissues are. I see it in myself. So the focus here is to pull on the pelvis to lengthen the adductors. This is really important for your knee joint health, for your hip health. And if you keep that straight leg and you're able to get a nice pull on the pelvis, it's really great for bone health. So let's lengthen the leg out to the side. Do not let it go forward towards your feet, part of the mat. So you only go to the side as long as you can. And if that foot or leg at any point wants to go forward, you would stop. Okay, so you're only going out to the side, depending on what your range of motion is in your body. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back up to center. Let's take the strap off. Push your feet into the floor. Bring your pelvis up and put it back down. Draw the knees in. This is a nice way to rebalance, tilting the pelvis backwards, taking tension out of the low back. So putting the low back in flexion, which is the opposite of the way the curve is in its natural state or position. Let's do a little bit strengthening here for the hip flexors, and then we'll lengthen them after we strengthen them. Hip flexors are important. This is where we bend our body, bending the hip, and one of the muscles is attached to the low back. So we want this to be strong and we want it to be lengthened as well. And if you sit a lot, this gets real contracted and is constantly in a contracted state. So let's keep the right leg bent. Take the left leg straight. Take your hands down alongside your body. Let's exhale. And as you inhale, can you lift the left leg up as high as you can and exhale to lower? Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale. Try not to let your pelvis tilt. So don't let your low back flatten to the floor. So see if you could only come up as high as you can without your pelvis tilting backwards and your low back coming to the floor. Bring your legs straight here. Let's inhale, lift the leg away from the floor about 6 inches. Inhale, lift about 6 more. Inhale. Inhale. Last one. Try to come as close to a 90 as you can, keeping that low back off the floor. Don't let the pelvis tilt. Only lift as high as you can. Inhale. And then exhale, lower 6 inches. Inhale. Exhale, lower 6 inches. Inhale. Exhale, lower 6 inches. Inhale. And exhale to lower all the way. Relax, completely let it go. One of the hip flexors is a quadricep, so you're going to feel the quadriceps there. Let's go ahead to the other side. Bend the left leg, take the right leg straight. Inhale, lift the foot about 6 inches away from the floor. Inhale, 6 inches. Inhale, 6 inches. Inhale, 6 inches. All the way above you if you can. Keep the pelvis in a neutral. Don't let the pelvis flatten here. See what you could do. Range of motion to the person. Inhale. And then exhale, lower 6 inches. Inhale, lower 6 inches. Inhale, exhale, lower 6. Inhale, lower 6. And then lower all the way. Take the legs straight, take the arms overhead. Or out to the side if your shoulders don't like you to go overhead. So I'd like to bend the knees. Let's lengthen the psoas. We just did some strengthening. We're going to come up into bridge. We're going to do a bridge flow. And then we're going to come all the way up to the bridge. When we come into the bridge, this gives us the opportunity to really lengthen the psoas and the hip flexor muscles. The way we stretch the hip flexor muscles is we don't bend our hip joint. So when your hip joint is not bent, that's when you have the opportunity to stretch the hip flexors. So let's do a little bridge flow here. Take your blanket up away from the back of your head. So we're going to be lifting our pelvis away from the floor and the weight's going to go down. That's why we want the blanket away. So if you had to have something behind you, make it as minimal as possible. Lengthen the back of your neck, pick your head up, tuck your chin towards your chest, let the center of your head touch the floor. And then walk your feet a little bit away from your body. We're going to use our arms here as well. Palms face each other, thumbs are up towards the sky. Take an inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, lift your left hand and your pelvis up and rotate your head to the right. Exhale to lower. Inhale, right hand, pelvis, head to the left. Exhale to lower. Inhale, left hand, pelvis, head to the right, and lower. Right hand, pelvis, head to the left. Keep going with your breath. The entire inhale is the movement up. The entire exhale is the movement down. Go slow. The next time that you come to right hand up will be your last movement. So when you come to the right hand up, go ahead, finish that movement, and then stop. Bringing yourself back to center. Take your block, bring your block between your knees. Walk your feet closer to your body. Lift your upper body off the floor, slide your shoulder blades towards each other, then bend your elbows so the palms face each other, fingertips are open and up towards the sky. The feet are as close as you can get them to your body. They're about block distance. Squeeze the block, squeeze the inner thighs, tilt the pelvis backwards, place the low back on the floor, and then lift your head up, lengthen the back of your neck, chin to your chest. Exhale. And as you inhale, squeeze your tushy. Squeeze, 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 and lift, 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 lift. Lift as high as you can, hopefully to the place where there's no more bend in your hip joint. Squeeze the block, lengthen your knees away from you. Really stretch the hip flexors, stretch that psoas. Lift the pelvis up, knees move away from you. Make sure that the weight comes to the upper back and not to the neck or the head area. For those that could clasp, you could reach under and clasp. Make sure your rib cage is not resting on your upper arm bones. So if your ribs is resting on your upper arms, you would be better to go back to arms on the ground using the upper arms to help lift the weight of the chest. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, lengthen the knees away from you. Deep breaths. One more breath. When you come down, let it be one vertebra that you press towards the floor at a time. When you come towards the end of your ribs, lower ribs, lift the heels off the ground, tilt your pelvis backwards. So you try to place the low back on the floor before the pelvis touches, stretching your low back. And then bring the blanket back behind your head. Keep the block there, draw the knees in, let the low back touch the floor side to side with your body. Actually, let's take the block out. Let's stretch our lower back. Take the right lower leg bone over the left lower leg bone. So right above the ankles. And then reach up with your head, reach around your body with your hands, grab your feet. Let the thumbs go in the arches and the hands are on the top of the feet. And then pull the legs towards the body, rest your head back down and rock side to side here. Stretching glutes, external rotators, and getting a nice release in the low back as well. If you're not able to do this, if you can't grab your feet, grab the outer edges of the calf shin area, the foreleg. Grab down on the side of your legs. Let your kneecaps be pointing to the sides. So that external rotation in the legs is important here to get that stretch. Let's come to the other side by taking the left lower leg on top of the right lower leg, looking up if you need to grab onto your feet, pulling your feet apart, drawing the legs towards the body, and then side to side. You probably feel this in the center of the buttocks. The external rotators get a nice stretch here, as does the back. And then let's go ahead, bring the block back in between your legs, feet are on the ground. Let's take your hands behind your head, elbows out to the side. Inhale. As you exhale, contract your core. So squeeze your core towards your lumbar spine, hugging your lower back bones, your spine, and press your low back into the floor. Inhale to release. Exhale slowly like a big bear hug of the lumbar spine. Hug your lumbar spine, press the low back to the floor. Inhale to release. So be really strong here. You should feel muscular action. Again, exhale to hug. Inhale. As you exhale to contract your core, press the low back into the floor. Lift the upper body off the floor. Elbows out to the side if you have osteoporosis. If you don't, bring the elbows towards each other, chin to the chest. Inhale to lower. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. Go slow. It's harder and more effective. One more. Keep your arms here, elbows to the side. Inhale. As you exhale, contract your core, hug your lumbar spine, lift your left arm up off the floor, pointing the elbow towards the outside of the right knee. Right elbow presses into the floor. Inhale to lower. Exhale, left elbow presses into the floor, right elbow lifts up, right elbow points towards the outside of the left knee. Inhale to lower. Go slow. Exhale to rise. Press the right elbow into the ground. Lift the left elbow outside of the elbow, points towards the outside of the right knee. Keep your knees straight. Don't twist your trunk, or twist your trunk. Don't twist your pelvis. Exhale to rise. You inhale to lower. Go at your pace with your breath. One more each side. We began with the right, so the end is to the left. And then bring yourself all the way down. Take the block out to the side. Bring the knees in and then spread the legs. Bring the soles of the feet up towards the sky. Hold on behind your hamstrings. So your legs are pretty spread here. That's going to help with the low back. And then roll onto your side. Let's open up your hand and push yourself away from the floor, leading with your shoulder to bring yourself up. Come onto all fours. Let's do a little bit of cat and cow, release tension. So take your hands pretty wide and forward, especially those of you that have elbow or wrists that don't like to be weighted on. Hands are forward. Let your toes touch the floor too. Press your toes into the floor. Let your lower body take some of this weight. Bring your awareness to your core, to your trunk, from your lower ribs to where your legs attach to your body. Inhale. As you exhale, contract your core, push your belly button up towards your spine. Try to push the low back up towards the sky. Inhale to release. Exhale, contract and hug your core. So this is core work. Go really, like as if you're making a fist with the center of your body. So feel that contraction. Inhale to release. Exhale, contract. One more. We're going to push ourselves back into a puppy dog pose to stretch the spine. Take your hands forward. You're going to be bending your hip here. Keep your spine long, no rounding of the spine. We're not bringing the pelvis to the heels. You're going to bring the forehead to the floor. Arms are straight. Tushy is in the air. Feel that stretch underneath your armpit, your chest, and push one armpit at a time towards the floor. Bring yourself up. Let's do a little Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, to strengthen the side of our body. So you're going to take the right hand underneath your shoulder, right foot is on the floor, and then pick the right foot up and move the right foot to the right a little bit. So your knee is still on the floor, you move your right foot up. Actually, we're going to need our block for this. So let's come back. Grab your block, bring your block in front of you. Take your right hand underneath the right shoulder. Your right foot is on the floor. Pick your right foot up and move your right foot to the right. And then take your block on its biggest side and then push into your block. Lift your left leg up and put your left leg onto the side of your body. Now, some of you may need to put the leg a little forward. If your leg is forward, I want you to bring your leg to the side. So a lot of people have their leg forward and that's going to contribute to this falling forward. Bring your leg to the side. If you could bring your leg up and your arm, this is what you're moving towards. If your wrist is not happy, come up onto your fingertips like you're holding a frosted cupcake. Lift this leg in the air, strengthen that side of your body, and then reach your arm nice and long, reach your leg nice and long. Keep lifting your leg up. Push your heart forward. And then flex your foot so it's your heel of your foot that's moving away from you. Deep breaths. Take one more breath. And then go ahead. You're going to slowly bring yourself out of that. We're going to go to the other side. I'm going to come here so I still face you. You're going to come onto left hand is right underneath your shoulder. You're going to lift the left foot off the floor. Left knee stays on the floor. Move your foot to the left. And then you're going to put your hand on your block. Lift your hip up so you open up your hips with this. And put the foot right alongside your body. Bring your leg up off the ground and your arm, if this is available to you. Even being here for some people and trying to open up their hips is a challenge. And this is strengthening your body. Every part of this is strengthening something. So it doesn't matter what variation you're in, the fact that you're in it, you're doing good. And if you need to come up onto your frosted cupcake hands, coming onto your fingertips, doing what's appropriate for you. Deep breaths. Keep lifting that leg high. That's a big challenge here for those side glute muscles. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. Take your block. Let's do a dolphin plank, which is a core. Lots of core work. We're going to come onto our forearms with our block. If you don't have a block, that's okay. Keep your hands about block distance. You could keep your lower legs on the floor if you'd like, or flip your toes under and lift your knees off. I'm going to keep us up here for a minute. So for some of you, you may want to come down. I'll tell you when the 30-second mark is if you'd like. Push your feet into the floor. So bring your awareness to your left foot. Push all 5 toes in. Push that foot in extra strong. And then do the same thing on the right foot. All 5 toes, really push them in. And push both heels back. Now push your elbows into the floor and your hands into the floor. And push away from the floor. Feel that. That's 30 seconds for those of you that want to come down. If you want a little more challenge, you can explore lifting one foot away from the floor at a time. Really keep that integrity in the core. Don't let your body hammock. Switching if you're doing that. Push the hands into the floor. All 10 fingers, the wrists, the palm, the elbows. And then go ahead and bring your pelvis down. Keep your elbows where they are. Open your throat. Stretch your body. If you'd like to lift away even farther, you could work towards unbending your elbows. Wherever you are, if you'd like to add looking over towards your heel, stretching even more of your body, whether your elbows are on the floor or you're up. You can even have your hands a little bit wider if that feels better. Soften your low back here. Soften the weight of your pelvis. Really stretch your tissues. And then bring yourself forward. Let's relax the low back here. Fold your hands. Let the forehead rest on the back of the hands, and then bend your knees. Let your feet go side to side, kind of in a floppy fashion. The goal is not to touch your belly to the diaphragm, to the belly. Let the low belly press into the floor. Let's take 3 big breaths here. Bring your hand up. Roll to your side. Bend your knees. And then let's push yourself up to seated on all fours. We're going to come down onto the ground because we're almost ready to do the Shavasana and to relax our back before we go into the Shavasana. So if you need anything for your Shavasana, have that handy as well. And then when you come down, we're going to do one more of the knees into the chest to help relax the low spine, low back. Let the legs and the arms go in the air. Shake, shake, shake. Let everything settle. And then we're going to come into the Shavasana. So bring your body into a fully extended relaxation position. Let go, let go. Human being time. Diname akame, gobinde mukande, udare apare, hariyam kariyam. Diname akame, gobinde mukande, udare apare, hariyam kariyam. Diname akame, gobinde mukande, udare apare, hariyam kariyam. Diname akame. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, rolling your ankles and your wrists. And then bending the knees, draw the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. And bringing yourself all the way onto your side. Take your hand on the floor, bringing yourself up to a seated position. Keeping your eyes closed, bring your hands together to the heart area. Press the heart towards the hands, lengthen your spine, lengthen the back of your neck. Take a couple of breaths and notice what you notice with your breath, with your lungs, the side of your body that breathes. Do both breathe evenly? We're going to close our practice with sound, the sound keeping the lips together. Take a big inhale down to the base of your spine. Bowing in namaste. Thank you, thank you. Lots of wellness took place in class today. So I hope you feel really good. Oh boy. So I did see some more activity. Martha, hi. Now I see you're here. Oh, was I frozen? I know last Thursday I got dropped. They were doing stuff on our internet and I literally got dropped. And I don't even feel like I've been dropped before in class, but I got dropped last week. Anyway, nice to have you all here. And hopefully it wasn't frozen for long, Martha. And hopefully we're able to end. Did any of you notice your lungs if you were breathing on one side or the other, or were you breathing on both? That's something I'd like to know, because that is something that happens. And especially if you have any kind of spinal rotation, like scoliosis, whether that's congenital or functional or situational. So anyway, all right. Well, if not here, you guys can report to me in email or some other fashion. If you want to stay on the list to receive classes, make sure I had a newsletter that went out yesterday, and these next few weeks, I'm clearing up my newsletter so that I only send links to people who want to practice weekly classes. You need to get on that list so you'll receive the 3 extra emails. Otherwise, I'm going down to 1 newsletter a week that's going to have more information in it. So, all right. Thank you. I hope you ladies, and if there's any boys out there, feel good. All right. Bye. Have a great day.